Actually, I will speak about sectarianism mostly and not really terrorism. We are witnessing, or we have been witnessing in the past few years, a sectarianization of the conflict in the Middle East region. However, before moving to the heart of that topic, I want to go back a little bit in history so that we understand the problematic of identity of the Arab world, or what is so called the Arab world. The Middle East is, as you all know, one of the most multi-religious, multi-ethnic, and multicultural geographic regions in the world. And the main challenge has been to create a national identity, or a kind of identity to this region, while the political power has always been in the hands of a predominant religious group. So one of the main challenges remains the link between religion and power in the Middle East. And the progression of religious, political religion is destroying partly the national identity and promoting communitarism or sectarianism. A very simple example to make things more concrete to you as I continue my intervention. There is no... Yes? Channel 3? Okay, so translation, interpretation is on channel 3. Okay, so a very simple example is my own country, Lebanon, for example. If you look to the past years, between 1943 and 1975, the political power in Lebanon was with the Maronite community. So the Maronites have been the ones who have the power. Then, after the Ta'if agreement in 1989 and until 2006, the political power has been with the Sunnis. Then, after 2006, the political power moved to the Shia community. And today, we are struggling a lot, but we are trying to identify kind of a Lebanese national identity that goes out of the context or of the concept of sectarianism or confessionalism. Because as you know, in Lebanon, we have 18 different confessions. So if the political power will keep moving from one confession to the other, we will never reach to an end. If we go back again now to the history of the region, to understand a little bit this concept or challenge of identity in the region. During the Ottoman Empire, the pan-Turanism was the prevailing source of power. Therefore, the concept of nationality was very weak, and it was on purpose. So we didn't have, during the Ottoman Empire, very much the concept or understanding of Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Jordan, etc. It was all of it the Ottoman Empire. So nationality, the concept of nationality or belonging to a nation was weak, and it didn't have really value. The destruction of the Ottoman Empire was then followed by the colonization of the Middle Eastern countries by the European countries. And this period was considered as the defeat of political Islam that was represented by the Ottomans. And most of the secular concepts were brought to the Middle East through the colonization, and the new political order was established in the form of nation states. After the colonization era, we had the revolutions in Egypt, in Syria, and Iran. And as you know, authoritarian regimes took power in the name of pan-Arabism. So we had pan-Islamism with the pan-Turanism, and then the colonization, and then the concept of, okay, now let us work on the identity of we are all Arabs, and then the Middle East is an Arab region. And the concept of republics. So we had the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Republic of Syria, etc., etc. However, you all know the rest, that with these authoritarian regimes, we also had corruption, social injustices, the poverty, all this were raised. So in a context where the governments were not able, or simply they were not doing their role in providing basic human rights for all, the religious structures took that role. So whether it was the Christians or the Muslims or other religious groups, a lot of faith-based organizations linked to development provided development services, such as education, health, security, etc., which added to the division within the community. So the church was providing health, hospitals, schools, etc., to the Christians, or other communities were doing the same to others. So the governments were not really playing their role in protecting all the different parts of the communities. This added to the problem of sectarianism. And like in Lebanon, some communities went further ahead in asking to have a completely geographical division, like it happened in Iraq. So now we have the Kurdistan government. They have their own parliament, etc., and they're asking for a completely different autonomous country for themselves. And after what happened in 2014, now the Christians are asking to have their own, not country, but province, let's say, in Iraq. They are saying, well, in 2014, when ISIS attacked us, the Kurds didn't protect us, the Iraqi forces didn't protect us, we were left alone. Why don't we then have a region for ourselves? They are having their own militias because they think, although the small militias that they have with 200 people that they are not really forced, we know that they will not be able to protect themselves, but at least they feel safe and protected. We are really seeing in the Middle East more and more division. And we know that on the long term, this is very dangerous because the more you divide, the better you can rule. And you have a promise that forever and ever you will have civil wars, sectarian wars, or whatever you want to call them. And what happens with the sectarian wars is that the state weakness tends to encourage recourse to identities that do not align with the nation states, but with the belonging to a religious group or a confession group. And if you belong to this confession, you can easily ally with the other groups who are in other countries who belong to the same confession. So if the Sunnis have a problem in Syria, well, the Sunnis in Lebanon will ally themselves with the Sunnis who are in Syria, and will start having a fight with the Shia who are in Lebanon, although the Sunni and the Shia in Lebanon maybe didn't have any problem. And the same happens in Iraq, and suddenly it becomes a Sunni-Shia problem in all of the Middle East. And the Christians, of course, or the other minorities become in the middle. They don't know what to do. Of course, this works very well with the regional and geopolitical benefits of international powers, whether it was for the oil or gas or et cetera, et cetera. And these sectarian conflicts continue to fuel the whole global powers, and the region continue to suffer, and we continue to just be polarized by other political global powers. Now, whether the UN says that, I think since 1998, they have one person who is in charge of terrorism and human rights, who only deals with this file of terrorism and human rights. And they say that even if you are fighting terrorism, you need to do it in international legal basis. So I come back to the issue of human rights and human security, saying that although human security is very a priority, and you need to find solutions to it, whether it's in Iraq or Syria, and you need to protect minorities who are now in Iraq asking for international protection. However, you have to keep doing it while protecting the lives of the civilians. So you cannot go and kill 40,000 civilians in Mosul or in Aleppo saying, well, I have the right to do it because I am fighting ISIS. It's not allowed, whether it's in international conventions or in the UN or legal framework. Nothing gives the right to any country or any government to kill civilians simply because they are fighting terrorism in any country or in any context in the world. And at the end, I just want to remind you that the World Council of Churches did recently publish a report, Protection Needs of Minorities from Syria and Iraq. You can find it online, it's published. It has recommendations on what the United Nations or any other NGO or any other government can do in order to protect the minorities in situations where terrorism and sectarianism is moving. And at the end, of course, I want to thank the Arab Federation of Human Rights and the Ecumenical Alliance for Human Rights and Development to give us this opportunity to share